Oh boy, we're about to play a game based on my all-time favorite subject in school, lunch. Such good memories. I always got straight D's. For delicious. Anyway, the rules to this game are super simple. I'll show you 3 lunchboxes, each with something tasty inside. Study each lunchbox carefully before it closes, because I'll be asking you a question about what's inside one of those lunchboxes. Everybody got it? Great! Let's get started, because I'm getting a little hungry. Okay, did everybody pay attention? I guess we'll find out. Who can tell me what was inside the blue lunchbox? Shout it out if you know it. Time's up! Who guessed that there was pizza in the blue lunchbox? You're correct. Very sliced. Oh, I mean nice. Let's try another. All right, who can tell me what color lunchbox had spaghetti inside? Shout it out if you know it. Time's up! Who said spaghetti was in the yellow lunchbox? You're right. Let's look at 3 more lunchboxes. Okay, this might be a little trickier. Who can tell me the color of the lunchbox that had a vegetable inside? Shout it out if you know it. Time's up! Who remembered the broccoli was in the blue lunchbox? You're correct. Way to go. That brox. Let's try another. All right, who can tell me what was inside the red lunchbox? Shout it out if you know it. Time's up! Who said hamburger? You're correct! You can give yourself a patty. No, I mean a pat on the back. Let's look at 3 more lunchboxes. All right, what color lunchbox had the ice cream inside? I scream for ice cream, you scream the answer. Time's up! Who remembered the ice cream was in the pink lunchbox? Nice job! We've got one final set of lunchboxes to look at. All right, what color lunchbox had the potato chips inside? Shout it out if you know it. Time's up! Who said the potato chips were in the red lunchbox? You're correct. Way to come through in crunch time. Well, I don't know about you, but that game made me kinda hungry. I think I'm gonna see what my mom packed in my lunchbox right now. Thanks for playing, everybody.
Hello, my fellow astronauts, and I'm training to fly in a space vehicle for our intergalactic space station. It's really hard work, but with a little bit of initiative, I'll be able to navigate the space module. That's space lingo for space vehicle. This month, we're going to be talking about something important that God can do in us to change the world around us. And with God's help, we can take initiative. Initiative is seeing what needs to be done and doing it. So, how do we do this? Step 1, we look around and see what needs to be done. Step 2, we do something about it. You see, if you think about it, that's what Jesus did. When he saw something that needed to be done, he just did it. He healed people who needed healing. He fed people who were hungry, and he helped people who were hurting. You see, Jesus is the greatest example of having initiative. And so is the man we read about last week, Nehemiah. This week we're looking at the next part of the story of Nehemiah. And just in case you need a refresher, here's what we talked about last week. Previously on Nehemiah, God's people had been captives in the Babylonian Empire for a really long time, for something like 70 years. That's a long time, right? The Babylonian Empire was then taken over by the Persian Empire, and Nehemiah found himself in an important role in Persia as the king's cupbearer. This meant that Nehemiah was in charge of making sure nobody poisoned the king, and as a result, the king came to trust Nehemiah. When news came that the city of the wall of Jerusalem was destroyed and the people were defenseless, Nehemiah cried and he prayed to God. The king gave Nehemiah permission to go to Jerusalem. Nehemiah took a long look at the city wall for himself, and he realized that something had to be done. He took initiative and rallied the people to help fix it. But there was a small problem, however. The people who were helping build the wall were poor and didn't have money to eat or to feed their families, so they could help build the wall. It seemed that some of the people were charging high prices so the people could borrow money to plant their fields. Well, again, Nehemiah took initiative and he helped fix the problem. So hang out with us today as we see how God used Nehemiah's initiative in this particular difficult situation.
This is DJ Maddie with the lads and the Na-Na song. Get ready to move to the never-failing, ever-remaining promises of God. Let's go!
God is with you when you rise.
So move yourself to the left and the right.
He's with you when you're up and down.
And bounce and pop down to the ground.
God is with you 24/7.
Step left and right, keep on stepping.
He's with you through the highs and lows.
Clap, clap your hands as you go.
Yeah, here we go!
Wherever you go, you were never alone. God is with you all the time, through the day and through the night. Wherever you go, you were never alone. And God is with you all the time, through the day and through the night.
Now I got it, but do you got it? I don't know. This time I want you to holler out the promises while you move. Look, like this.
God is with me when I rise.
So move yourself to the left and the right.
He's with me when I'm up and down. So bounce and pop down to the ground.
That's right.
God is with me 24/7.
Step left, step right, keep on stepping.
He's with me through the highs and lows. Clap your hands as you go.
Now raise your arms and say,
Wherever you go, you were never alone. God is with you all the time, through the day and through the night.
I think they got it.
Wherever you go, you were never alone. And God is with you all the time,
All the time.
through the day and through the night.
Y'all keep stepping. Y'all look beautiful out there. This is perfect. The lads, DJ Maddie, we here for y'all, man. Just a simple reminder that you are never alone. Remember that through the day and through the night.
Hey everybody, it's me, Jacob, and I may not be a real astronaut, but I still know a lot about initiative. Initiative is seeing what needs to be done and doing it. So, it's doing what needs to be done, yes, but first you have to see what needs to be done. You have to look for the needs around you. They know all about this in space travel. Let's say, for instance, they decide to go from the Earth to the moon. They don't just get in their rockets, strap themselves in, and take off. No. Hey phone, how do I get to the moon? No. They spend months, even years, planning for every trip. They prepare for things that might go wrong and have backup plans in place to help protect them. They look out for things that might get in their way, like other aircrafts or satellites. Oh, look out for that asteroid! Oh, that was a close one. They decide before they even start the trip exactly where they're gonna go and how they're gonna get there. They know Oh man, I ruined the moon! That was not part of the plan. But good thing I had a backup plan. This moon is much sturdier. In today's story, we'll hear more about Nehemiah, who had a plan to make the city of Jerusalem stronger. And there was more to that plan than just rebuilding the wall. Nehemiah could have used a smartphone. Knock knock, who's there? It's phone. Hey, phone, question. How do I make Jerusalem stronger? Or maybe not. I'll see you in a few.
The Bible. It's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. The epic adventure of how He created us and loves us so much that He made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. Now, for an amazing story. Inspired by the book of Nehemiah, chapter 5, verses 1 through 12.
Nehemiah had traveled all the way from the king's palace of Persia to the broken down city of Jerusalem. And there, with God's help, he rallied all the Jews living there to begin the epic job of rebuilding that city's walls.
Who's with me? I say, let's start rebuilding.
At first, the work went well. Each family or group took a different part of the wall to work on.
We're making record time.
Nehemiah and the people even managed to ignore taunts and threats from neighboring nations who did not want to see that wall rebuilt.
If a fox climbs on that pathetic thing, it'll fall right down.
The God of heaven will give us success.
So it seemed like nothing was going to stop this big project until new trouble showed up. From inside the walls, a group of Jews in ragged cloaks came to look for Nehemiah where he was working on the wall.
There's not enough food for everyone. We're being forced to sell our fields and vineyards just to buy grain.
There's hardly enough to keep us alive.
The king's taxes are high. We have to borrow money, but then we can't even pay the high interest.
Interest was extra money the people had to pay back. It was so high they could hardly keep any of the money they made.
Who's making you do this?
Other Jews, our own relatives.
We even had to send our children to work for them as slaves.
We have nothing left. Please help us. This is not right. It's not right at all. I'll take care of it.
Nehemiah was so angry that he didn't trust himself to act in the moment. Instead, he thought it over for a time.
God, what do I do about this?
His own people were mistreating those who had less. Nehemiah took this so seriously, he stopped work on the wall to call together the Jewish nobles and officials.
What's this all about?
Better be good. Making us lose all this work time.
It's not good. It's bad. You're charging your own people interest.
It's not like it's that much.
I mean, we can't loan money for free, right?
Do you have to ask me this? Think about it. Many Jewish people were sold as slaves to other nations, and we had to buy them back and bring them home. Now, you're charging so much interest, they are forced to become slaves again.
Oh.
No one could argue with Nehemiah. They listened quietly to his next words.
What you're doing is not right. We have to show respect for God. Look, I am lending money and grain to the people who need it, and so are my relatives, but we aren't charging any interest.
So, what should we do now?
If you've taken anything in payment, give it back. Fields, vineyards, olive groves, houses, give it all back. Even the interest that you've charged, do it now.
God moved in the hearts of the people because instead of arguing, they agreed.
We'll give it back.
We won't make them give us anything else.
We'll do just as you say.
Very good.
Nehemiah sent for the priests so that the nobles and officials could make this promise before God.
You must keep this promise, or God will deal with you.
Amen.
Immediately, the officials did as they said.
Here are the papers. The vineyard is yours again.
Oh, thank you. I've been working years to get it ready for a good harvest.
I took too much. This is yours.
This means my son can come home now.
So once the nobles and officials made everything right, work on the wall began again, faster and stronger than before, now that everyone had what they needed. And Nehemiah continued to show his people how to treat each other, even though King Artaxerxes had appointed him governor.
You know, all the other governors made the people pay them silver and give them lots of food and stuff, even land.
That's too heavy a load to put on the people.
Instead, Nehemiah dedicated himself to working on the wall. In fact, he even invited 150 people to eat food at his own table. Throughout his life, he always looked for ways to treat people fairly and make things right.
The city of Jerusalem was in trouble because the walls had been broken down. But that wasn't the only thing that was broken. Nehemiah looked and saw that some of his people were being treated unfairly because they were poor, and he did something about it. He stood up for them and worked to make things more fair. Initiative starts with seeing what needs to be done, and more often than not, it starts with seeing who needs to be helped and what needs to be made right. That's one of the reasons Jesus is so amazing. He saw people. He showed people how valuable they were by loving them no matter what, and he inspired them to love others. We're called to love people too. We should stand up for people who are being treated unfairly because of the way they look, or where they're from, or how much money they have, or what they believe in. If you've ever been treated unfairly, then you know how it feels. It's not good, but maybe you also know how it feels when someone stands up for you, when someone's on your side. Standing up for people is one way we can make things more fair. We can make things right, and as one way, we can show others the love God has for the world. So, here's the one thing to remember today. Look for ways to make things right. Make a plan. Decide before you start your day that you're going to look for the needs around you. And speaking of needs, looks like I'm gonna need another moon. This one's just too delicious. This moon tastes like cheese. Oh. I'll see you next time. Oh, there's my face up.
Wow, that was awesome. What a cool story. I love seeing how Nehemiah took the initiative to make a difference for others. And remember, this all happened because Nehemiah took a look around. He saw that some of his people were being treated unfairly just because they were poor. And Nehemiah didn't sit back and hope things would just work out better. He did something about the problem. He stood up for the people who were being mistreated, and he made sure that the people who were mistreating them promised to stop. He really cared about the needs of others, and he put them first. And that's what Jesus did too. He saw people. He showed people how valuable they were by loving them. No matter what, he inspired them to share his love with others too. We can be a part of the work of God in doing that today as well. With God's help, we can see things that are wrong and work to help make them right. Remember, look for ways to make things right. That means we should stand up for people who are treated unfairly because of the way they look, or where they're from, or how much money they have, or what they believe. If you see something like that happening and you're not sure what to do, maybe you can talk to an adult or a parent or a teacher, or maybe you realize that you've been treating somebody unfairly and that you've been unkind. Maybe to your sister or brother or even a friend. You can make the first move and say you're sorry. You can take the initiative to make things right. So this week, look for ways to help a friend or your mom or your dad. Making things right is hard work, but it's good work. It's God's work. It's the kind of work that God can do through each of us all the time. So next week, guys, we're going to continue looking at how Nehemiah made a difference in the lives of the people in the rundown city of Jerusalem. So I look forward to seeing you all next week, okay? Don't forget to look around. See someone that you can help, okay? All right, everybody. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Dear God, sorry I haven't written much lately. School started up and I guess things got started pretty fast. The first day at the bus stop was even crazy. Justin and Dean and JT were there and doing their usual. And then there was this new guy. At first, I didn't even notice. I was busy catching up with the guys again. I don't know why I didn't say anything to him. He was dressed a little different and nobody really talked to him. The truth is, I wasn't thinking about it. I was just thinking about my new classes, new teachers, well, all kinds of stuff. I couldn't help remembering what it was like when we first moved here. It wasn't that many years ago when I was at the bus stop by myself too. I remember thinking I'd never make any friends here. So the next day, I made sure to say hi. Carlos is okay. The first day he was doing stuff for registration, but we found out he's in a couple of my classes. It turns out he's into robotics. When I told him that JT and I had a team last year, it was pretty cool. God, I think you just sent a new friend. Thanks for helping me to see what needed to be done. Talk again soon. Lim.